welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to support my daily Eternal Magic offerings while getting amazing perks like the BoshNRoll Discord community, have me play your deck on the channel, or listen sideboard guides before tournaments, check out the Patreon or YouTube membership program. This channel is possible because of these amazing sponsors. Check them out, all their links are in the video description. As always, thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic.
Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Legacy, and at the request of Patreon subscriber Headlich in Charge, this is Loam Pox. Headlich and I have been tuning Loam Pox for months together, trying to find lists that make the most sense, trying new cards in the shell. The core idea of this deck, if you've never seen it before, is you use cards like Smallpox. Each player loses life, discards a card, sacrifices a creature, sacrifices a land, to put both players in the dirt. But you have Mox Diamond and Life from the Loam and Planeswalkers and things that recur from the graveyard and lands that win the game on their own to break the parity of what should be a symmetrical effect. You make it asymmetrical. New cards we're trying from Modern Horizons 3, Ripples of Undeath, kind of the Black Sylvan library. 1 and a black. At the beginning of your first main phase, mill 3. Then you may pay 1 and 3 life. If you do, put a card from among those milled cards into your hand. This digs for Loam quite aggressively. It fills your graveyard with stuff quite aggressively. One of the biggest problems that Loam Pox has had historically is you do the early squeeze thing, like you resolve a Smallpox, you cast a Liliana, it kills a creature, it gets bolted, it was worth a bunch of cards, and then suddenly you're not doing anything. And your opponent finds their land, and then they find a threat, and then they have 2 counterspells in their hand, and then you're just way too far behind for it to ever matter. Hopefully Ripples can help solve those problems, keep the cards flowing, and keep the graveyard stocked with things to do. Another cool thing about Ripples is it does not read return a card from your graveyard to your hand. It says mill 3, then you may pay 1 life and pay 1 and 3 life. If you do put a card from among those cards into your hand. It does not care where the milled cards are, which means this continues to be card advantage even through Graveyard Hate. I have not actually played with this card versus Graveyard Hate, but I believe this works like something like Gyruda or Picklock Prankster that does not specify where the card is. It just says from among the milled cards. If they get milled straight into exile, sure, I'll take one of them from there. Graveyard Hate does shut off your card advantage engines in this deck. So that is a nice pivot to have access to. My apologies, I just realized that I had the deck so nicely in frame, I didn't realize I was only showing 2/3 of it. Yeah, there's all these other lands of the deck too. Things to recur with the Life from the Loam. You get Nurturing Peatland, you get Takenuma, Cabal Pit for removal, Beseiju for removal. Waste Locking people is a real thing. Bitter Triumph, also not a removal spell we've tried in this deck before. Really wanted an efficient way to kill a creature or a planeswalker. That was important. We tried Murderous Rider in the past, but 3 mana was just kind of a lot for that. Bitter Triumph, if you need it dead, the 3 life is not a big deal. And if you're actively loaming and keeping cards flowing, the discard is trivial. And Vengeful Pharaoh, first appearance in this deck, though I have played it in other decks before. 5 mana, 5/4 Death Touch. Whenever combat damage is dealt to you or a planeswalker you control, if Vengeful Pharaoh is in your graveyard, destroy target attacking creature, then put Vengeful Pharaoh on top of your library. That kind of rules. That is a way to kill Psychic Frog. If it wants to chip in for a damage in a card, it's dead. That's important. It can pick off a large Eldrazi. That's important. And the Pharaoh ends up on top of your deck, which means if you have Life from the Loam going, you can loam it back into the graveyard every turn and make it really hard for any creature to hit you twice. And eventually, it's just a 5 mana 5/4. You got to win somehow. I'm excited to try that one. And that's the deck. Let's get into it. This is Headlich in Charge's Loam Pox. I'm on the play for round 1. This hand is a little slow. If I knew what the matchup was, I'm not entirely opposed to 6 lands, him to Turok on the play. But I might just be dead before this matters. I'm going to mulligan this. Pox has to play a high land count because the things that you want to exchange resources for usually cost lands. Like we're talking about Mox Diamond and plussing the Liliana, and then Life from the Loam needs targets. I promise it's worth it, but sometimes you end up with 6-land hands like that you have to mulligan. This hand is clearly a keep. I'm deciding whether I want to bottom Hymn to Tarok or Nile Spellbomb. There are many decks in the format where Nile Spellbomb is just insane and gets to sit and play and win the game for you, or at least make it really hard for the opponent to win. And there are decks in the format that don't care about Hymn to Tarok. And a lot of the times, those are the same deck. I think Hymn to Tarok is generically better. If this is like Eldrazi or Painter or something, I'd rather have Hymn to Tarok. All right, I'm going to bottom the Spellbomb. I think if I didn't have Thoughtseize, if this was just some other card, I would keep the Spellbomb just to have something to do on one. But Thoughtseize takes so much pressure off that I don't think I need that high volume or high volume. That's not even a Magic thing. That high variance card in this game one. Okay, it looks like we're playing against Depths. I'm going to take the Elvish Reclaimer, because that's the one drop they have. This is a Wasteland matchup. It's also a matchup that is almost entirely about lands and having cool lands in play. They are susceptible to Wasteland, but they can also Wasteland me. This is going to be an interesting one. It's really about what pieces come together for me. And now I have the decision to get Ripples going or Hymn them now. And I think I actually just want Ripples going. The only cards that I know they can cast in their hand cost 3, which means I have a turn to start developing here. And unless Hymn hits both of those Knight of the Reliquaries, I'm going to have a problem eventually. All right, here we go. First ever trigger of Ripples of Undeath on this channel. This happens in the main phase, which is really interesting. So that's after you draw, after your upkeep. Historically, these things would have been templated to happen in your upkeep. I'm not sure why it happens in the main phase, but it does. Okay. You can put a card, so it doesn't have to be a permanent or anything. I could get back the Thoughtseize. I feel like I'm going to want that eventually. That is a lot of life being lost. I think I'd rather have Urza Saga, actually. I can't play it this turn because I have to Hymn to Tarok my opponent. Let's see, 2 Knight of the Reliquaries at the graveyard. We got a Knight and a Flagstones. Okay. That might be the third land they needed to cast their spell. I'm going to hope for the best on that front. I have 2 Wastelands here. If they get this Knight down, though, I do need to Ripples into an answer very quickly. Lush Portico, and they can crack Vexing Bauble for a redraw. They didn't do that. They're still holding out hope that I have a 0 mana spell in my deck that I don't have. Pretty sure there's... Oh, I have Mox Diamonds. I was about to say there's literally 0, but there's literally 3. Okay, they are turning off Mox Diamond right now. They milled away Caracas and kept Talon Gates of Madara. This is going to be a big turn right now to answer this Knight of the Reliquary or not. Burn Catacombs doesn't do it. Ripples, Entomb, Shadow Spear, Takenuma. None of those do the thing. Interesting. Where does Entomb get me? I could Entomb for Vengeful Pharaoh. I don't think they're going to be attacking with the Knight of the Reliquary, though. It would be sick if they did. Okay, I actually am going to pay the 3 life to get Entomb back. And then I'm going to waste all of their lands. There we go. Playing from 1 land. Oh, the Legolas's quick reflexes. Pharaoh does target, which is extra messed up. Okay. I might have blown it. I forgot that that's a target. Okay, Entomb. All right, Vengeful Pharaoh, you're still going to do your thing. I go to 5. If they counter this, though, with quick reflexes, okay. They have done it right away. Or are they going to spin away for Bojuka Bog right now? They don't even need to do that because this ability targets. Okay, they did get Bojuka Bog. Yeah, that wasn't necessary, but I'm glad it happened. Now I need to mill into an Edict. Smallpox does it. I have a bunch of Edicts that do it. Liliana on my draw step does it. All right, moment of truth. Wow, just a full Brick City. Saw a lot of cards, none of them were good enough. Currency Converter can't get a creature into play fast enough here. Yeah, I guess we're just dead. That felt extremely unlucky, but okay. Okay, Damnation comes in, just kills creatures. Nile Spellbomb has some text. It makes Knight of the Reliquary and Elvish Reclaimer smaller. I don't think I want it, though. Same thing, I don't want Leyline of the Void. That's not really what it's about here. Yeah, I had 20 looks at 12 outs that game. It's fine. That's Magic. But I'm just saying, I had 20 looks at 12 outs. This is a deck with a lot of just natural graveyard hate. They have the Elvish Reclaimer, Crop Rotation, and Knight of the Reliquary that are all route to Bajuka Bog. And if they have more in the sideboard, they could have just brought it in. I could see arguments for Pithing Needle, naming Reclaimer or Knight. I feel like I want to discard spell out, whether it's one Thoughtseize or one Hymn. I like the Vengeful Pharaoh. It almost had a moment. It baited my opponent into doing something weird that they didn't need to do. I think Thoughtseize is probably better than him in this matchup because their deck is full of lands and I need to get the spells out of their hand. Or you can just keep a hand with both. All right, keep this one. This is very similar to the hand I had last game, except this hand has 2 removal spells in it, which would have easily won the last one. And a Thoughtseize off of a basic. They do have Wasteland in hand, Zenith and Veil. I'm going to take the Veil. And this is the spot I was talking about at the start of last game where this deck is so land hungry. Like if they Zenith for Dryad Arbor here and I can Smallpox them straight into hell, but then I don't draw a land for a couple turns, I'm in trouble. They let on the Portico, got rid of a Dark Depths. Okay, sick. I have access to 1 basic forest and 4 basic swamps, so I'm not worried about Wasteland now. I could use this opportunity to get the ripples down, and I think that is correct to do. And I am going to fetch the basic forest and just make sure my boxes are checked here. It would be really embarrassing to get mana denied out of the game when I'm a mana denial deck. Flagstones, that was a great find. That makes my Smallpox a lot worse. Zenith gets Reclaimer. Drew a Swamp. And I milled Liliana, Wasteland, Verdant Catacombs. I definitely want at least one of these back. I think it is Liliana. That card's just really good. If you haven't played with Liliana before, I recommend it. I do want to clear this Elvish Reclaimer before it starts going off. Their hand is 4 known lands and 1 unknown. Question is, do I actually want to Smallpox into the Flagstones? And I don't think I do. I think I'm just going to Shoulder's Edict this thing. Because that sets me back a land, but it doesn't set them back a land. And I've got Liliana and stuff to do here. Talon Gates and Madara. Target creature phases out. There are none of those. Drew another Ripples. I'm unlikely to play 2 of those. Mazavith, Mox Diamond. I don't think I care about Mox Diamond here. Or Mazavith or Shadow Spear. Definitely not Shadow Spear. And I don't have to pay the life if I don't do the thing. Ripples is now a card I'm pretty happy to discard to Liliana if I just play her in plus. Won't even miss it. I'm going to do that. They have a bunch of shitty lands over there that they won't miss either. I hope they discard the Wasteland because they see 3 basics, then I can play out this Bayou. That would be great. Discarded Basic Forest. I'm still going to play the Bayou. If they want to spend a turn wasting me, I think I'm favored with a Planeswalker and a Ripple in play. Yeah, they played out Yavimaya instead of the Wasteland. Come on, Zenith for some 3-drop. Or just play a 3-drop, that's fine too. Okay, so Liliana is just in play, and they ran this thing out. I could indicate Veil of Summer, but I'd be fine with that. I just drew Pithing Needle. Liliana, Thoughtseize, Smallpox. Now I'm in a bit of a squeeze where I actually do want cards in my hand. I'm going to say no, though. I think I'm a little tight on resources right now. I'm going to do the obvious thing first, just minus you. If they Veil this, I haven't cast a black spell, so it's not a cantrip. Crop Rotation in response. They can get the Cavern to copy the Talon Gates. Or Echoing Deeps, that's what I meant by Cavern. This cave, never remember the name of this. But yeah, this is going to copy Talon Gates, phase out the Knight. Cool trick. That still results in you having 0 cards in hand, and me casting Pithing Needle on Knight of the Reliquary. We cleared a Zenith alongside the Wasteland, Pithing Needle naming Knight. Wow, there's so many Knight of this. Look at this. What a list. Normally, I'm down to just a couple options once you type that many words. And Knight's pretty big. It's a 6/6. They could just clap me down to 7, then lose it to Liliana. They could attack Liliana, and then Ripples keeps rippling, and I'm holding the Smallpox here. Flagstones is also a forest right now, thanks to Yavimaya. They could sacrifice that. They took out Lily, and they went Hellbent. Cool. It would be a great turn to find a life from the Loam. Ripples of Undeath finds life from the Loam. Let's go. Give me back that Loam. And then Loam, target, Wasteland, Mazavith, Verdant Catacombs. Black green. Now I can Smallpox and it doesn't really hurt me. I'm going to discard Verdant Catacombs to this. Now Loam is running. Wasteland keeps Merit Lage off my back. Guess I'll sacrifice Bayou. Why turn on their Wastelands? If they have a second Lush Portico, the Flaxlands could get it here, or it might just see a Savannah. Yep, just a Savannah. Okay, good to know. And now we'll see if Life from the Loam can take over this game. Mazavith, okay. And Ripples triggers whether I like it or not. I am going to Dredge Loam. And then Ripples triggers. Currency Converter. Do I want to pay 3 life to get that back? Is there an Urza Saga in my graveyard? There is somehow not an Urza Saga in my graveyard yet. If I buy back Converter, yeah, I think I do. Currency Converter. Between Dredging Loam and Ripples, I do have to deal 19 damage to my opponent before I go to 0 cards in my deck. That is a slight concern I have. Okay, they're just bricking off over there. I am going to activate Currency Converter, draw and discard a card. Discard Thoughtseize, don't need that anymore. That makes a 2-2 starting next turn. I can mill myself 9 more times with Ripples. There's a Saga, okay. I don't need to pay life to get that back. Saga, Takenuma, Beseiju. Get all these back. Play out the Saga. Real win con has emerged. And I can Wasteland and Beseiju 2 lands if they ever get anything going over there. Dryad Arbor, okay. Get those beats in. I'll block it with a 2-2 so fast. Oh yeah, get in there. Get your chip shot. 2-2 Rogue. Block. They can Mazavith it back to save it. Or just let it die. We'll take it. And played another Windswept Heath. Alright. I don't need a Wasteland now. What's the rush? I'm not going to Dredge Loam. I'm worried about my cards in deck at this point. Not really worried, but just want to make sure I don't die to it. Okay. Wasteland the Mazavith so I can push damage. Get in for 2. And then I've got a Cabal Pit that taps for green, pain-free, which means I can deploy Liliana and plus her, get her going, which makes a treasure out of Currency Converter, which makes my constructs bigger next turn. It's doing whatever I can to apply damage right now. They fetched a basic Plains. Caracas. None of my stuff is legendary. Well, Liliana is legendary, but they're not allowed to touch that one. Make a construct. Make a treasure. Go to my turn. Don't Dredge Loam. I'm not going to bother looking because it doesn't matter. I'm just going to play it out. But I hope there's a Mox Diamond left in my deck to tutor for. There is not. Okay. Milled 3, Liliana Dark Ritual Urborg, 15 cards left in my deck. Replay this other Saga I just drew. Plus Liliana. Discard Takenuma, which can make another treasure before combat. And I'm still holding up a Beseiju if they manage to get some sick techie land in. I have Liliana if they draw a creature. And they are dead on board with plenty of mills left. Beseiju is things your opponents control. I can't kill my own Ripples even if I wanted to. Vexing Bauble, that's just going to be a redraw. Off it goes. Elvish Reclaimer, that's dead. It's weird they're still playing. I mean, you're entitled to spend your time however you like. I guess they get to see 3 more cards out of my deck. But I can just make them sack this, and then I'm in. For lethal damage. Sick. Okay. Ripples was insane that game. That game brought to you entirely by Ripples of Undeath. Okay, Nile Spellbomb is just another artifact. I did run out of them that game. I think that is suffering from success, though. I don't think that's actually a game-breaking problem for me. The Spellbomb also turns off Echoing Caves. Echoing Deeps. Echoing Deep? Is there more than one Deep? Deeps? Deep? Echoing Deep? I think it's just one. Because Deeps would be depths. Or are those different words? There's Dark Depths and Echoing Deep in the same deck. Deep theme deck. I've lost my mind. I was thinking about Nile Spellbomb. What's going on here? I don't think I want it. I just want to think about it. There's a point in these games where discard is completely worthless. So thinking about something like Hymn to Turok or Thoughtseize in terms of Nile Spellbomb is a card with some relevant text and a cantrip later, versus these being super blank later, but totally fine early. They also clearly still have Vexing Bauble in the deck when it's only good for 3 Mox Diamonds, which makes those a little awkward. I would really hate to keep an opening hand on the strength of Mox Diamond and then get bobbled in a deck that otherwise doesn't care about it, but I don't think that means I board out a Mox Diamond. I'll just make my little thinking pile here. Him to Turok hitting lands actually matters a lot compared to Thoughtseize, because if we get into that mid game, like we saw that game where my opponent had Wasteland and some other land in their hand, just clearing them out. I think they had Wasteland Zenith, so Thoughtseize still would have been good, but clearing a known Wasteland was nice. I think I am going to cut a Thoughtseize. Let's do it like this. Nile Spellbomb, you're back. This is a turn 1 Smallpox with a bunch of Wastelands and Urza Saga. This is basically the whole package. I'm in. I would love for them to cast Reclaimer off of a land that is not Flagstones of Trocaire. They're also a Mox Diamond deck, which makes their Vexing Bauble even weirder. Okay, Mox Diamond, Urza Saga. Discarding Flagstones. Okay. Interesting. I could just wipe out their Saga here. I lose all my resources too, so we're down to a spot where they have... I could wait for them to have a creature. That's probably the correct way to play this game. I'm going to Wasteland the Saga. They didn't crop rotate me away. And I am going to get this Mox Diamond in before they find Vexing Bauble, though that does turn on Prismatic Ending as a full 2-for-1 and no way to spend the mana. Let's just hope that doesn't happen. Elvish Reclaimer, okay. We walk them into a spot where now Smallpox is actually a good deal, where last turn it wasn't a very good deal. Oh, it's an even better deal now. Look at this shit. Now I get a land drop also. Dark Ritual. Smallpox. I'm going to discard... Is it Wasteland or Basic Swamp? It's not Urza Saga. Oh, I have Mox Diamond. It's definitely Bayou. Never mind. I was worried about green sources for a second, but I don't have to be. Yeah, you don't have to cast spells just because they're in your hand. You can wait until they are more opportune to do that. Now, I'm Saga Gaming. They are a Wasteland deck. They could just get out of this quickly. Or they could suffer my horrible wrath. Wasting them versus getting the Saga going is actually a little bit of a challenge. I think I want to get the Saga going, though if their hand is like Land Knight of the Reliquary, I might regret that massively. There's the land. They seem to be passing priority. Great news, everybody. We didn't get blown out by the thing I could have easily played around. Greed prevails. Greed is good. Gordon Gecko. Swords of Plowshares. Wow, if that's the interaction that they have left, they're in a lot of trouble. Damnation. And oh, I could Pithing Needle if they don't fetch in response. Okay, they thought about it. I thought they passed priority. That's why I was so excited. They got the Portico. And they kept the card on top. I could Nile Spellbomb, which is a cantrip. Or I could Currency Converter, which is a steady value engine. I'm going to Currency Convert. I'm not converting any currency just yet. I'm going to Wasteland this Portico, because even if they crop rotate it away, they end up losing a card that they kept on top with the Surveil. Okay. We're in the tight little squeezes now. Elvish Reclaimer is actually bigger than Construct Token, and that is the card they had. I was just thinking about cards that they might actually keep on top. Okay, Liliana, Edict. Any artifact in my deck. Those are the good draws right now. Light from the Loam. I'm never upset to see that one. Loam targeting Saga, Wasteland, Wasteland. I'm just going to waste their land out from under them. And then I'll get Saga going next turn. Because they need 2 mana to activate Reclaimer. And then they need minimum 3 mana sources in play to make Merit Lage. And they're not winning the race if they just attack with this thing. Okay, Swords of Plowshares. The coast is clear, but I've got Loam going in a follow-up Saga now. Okay, I go back down to 21. I'm not going to dredge Loam. I don't need that yet. Urza Saga. Sick. Pithing Needle, name Elvish Reclaimer. That's another artifact as well, plus I get to make a treasure this turn. My next construct will be much bigger than Elvish Reclaimer. Sejiri Step, hell yeah. Protect that little buddy. He's very important right now. A Reclaimer puts me to 18. Tie game. I'm going to convert some currency in the end step. Not dredging Loam here. Ooh, I was going to discard... I mean, their hand is definitely a spell, right? But that spell might be Veil of Summer. Would I rather have a 2-2? No, my construct's still bigger than their shit. Yeah, I would rather have a 2-2 than a treasure here. I just think that Thoughtseize is likely to get Veil of Summered in this position. Still not dredging Loam. Waste ya. Give them nothing, take from them everything. That's the Pox motto. Also Sparta. Okay, they keep drawing lands. Lucky. but they are about to have the script flipped. Make a 4/4 and a 2/2. The 2/2 doesn't matter much, but I could tutor Nile Spellbomb and make that really good. Another Thoughtseize in my hand. These are 5/5s now. Fetching to play around the needle that is already in play. Smartly fetched a basic. I am sandbagging a Wasteland. I'm actually going to get the Nile Spellbomb, because that lets me just tee off with all my creatures and not just the construct. It's also a cantrip. I like cantrips. Okay, they're blocking with Reclaimer. I'll fetch in response. Basic Swamp. Spellbomb you. If they can put 3 lands, that literally doesn't do anything. I have not cast a spell, and it's not a black ability that gives you hexproof. Okay, I was right that they had Veil of Summer. Look at that shit. The information that your opponent doesn't, what your opponent doesn't do is just as good information as what they do in a game of Magic. And what card could have been in their hand? They had 3 lands at one point. It can't be a 3-drop. They would have played it unless they drew it in the window in between when I took their 3rd land, which is possible, but I was just getting vibes that it was the same card. And they went a turn without playing a land. They played Sejiri Step instead of a land that does anything. And what card is left in their whole deck that makes sense for them to have at that point? And it's Veil of Summer. This Thoughtseize could have been a blowout, but instead they just discarded that card and conceded. On to the next round, Pox Life.
This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks. And groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there.
I'm on the play in round 2. With a hand that's kind of slow, but that's not necessarily disqualifying. I will keep it. I don't think there is a Mortuary in this deck, the Surveil land. There's not. The lands coming into play untapped is just pretty important. That is a card that we talked about and figured we had enough graveyard-based card selection. My opponent over there with turn 0 Leyline of the Void, like a psycho. It's fine, I'm just playing a graveyard synergy deck. I probably should have fetched before they have Dark Ritual Oppo online. Chrome Mox, pitched Dothy Voidwalker, and played another Dothy Voidwalker. Okay. Doesn't matter what I do here, so I will just let it resolve. Do I think this is going to be a Wasteland deck? They're actually extremely exposed to Smallpox here. Do I want to draw lands? Do I fetch at all is actually a question here. I'm not going to fetch. I'll just draw. I drew Dark Ritual. That lets me actually get them to nothing this turn. So the Ritual's a card. I spend him, Pox, Ritual. I have to sack a land. I have to play a land. And then I have to leave 1 card in hand. Or I get 2 cards in hand. I probably want to keep Urza Saga and Boseiju, which means I play Takenuma. Okay, yeah, I mean, this actually looks pretty sweet. Play Takenuma, discard Wasteland, sack Takenuma, leave Bayou in play. Alright, look at me. Who's the Dark Ritual deck now? Him to Tarakyu, Vexing Bauble in hand. Fetch Bayou, hope you're not a Wasteland deck. Smallpox your ass, discard Wasteland. Sack Takenuma. They have Chrome Mox as their game pieces to play with at this point. And I have Urza Saga ticking up. Currency Converter is a unit. Not really, though, because the cards discard into exile, which means I don't get to make things. It's still an artifact in play that makes my constructs bigger, though. I'd love to draw a land that's not Boseiju, but I won't be greedy. Cool. That's not Boseiju. I just like having the Boseiju up in case they get together like Ritual, Helm you. At least I have an out to that now. They have exactly 3 cards in hand for double Ritual Helm. And begin the beats. You thought you were a Black Prison deck, but it is I, the Black Prison deck. I'm going to tap out a Boseiju for a turn and just hope I don't die. Nile Spellbomb or Shadow Spear? Do I think Spellbomb's going to matter? I'm going to get Shadow Spear. Okay, here we go. Moment of truth. Uh-oh. Okay, Swamp Go is fine. We survived that. Okay, playing out Mox Diamond does take a turn off the clock. Or no, it doesn't. 8 times 2 is 16. Math is hard. Do I want to play out Swamp? Would I prefer Swamp to be Mox Diamond? I think I would prefer Swamp to be Mox Diamond. But I'm not going to equip Shadow Spear because I want to hold up Beseiju. Okay, here we go. Ooh, they have something. Orcish Bowmaster, Emergency Chumps. Turns out equipping Shadow Spear would have been pretty solid. The trample damage is relevant. But I still prefer this line to leaving the out of getting combo killed that we absolutely don't need to do. And they're on that immediate double chump because they see the Shadow Spear in play. I think Needle probably names Shadow Spear. If they 1000 IQ it and name Beseiju to set up their potential win, I'd be impressed. Please name Mox Diamond. Please name Mox Diamond. Named Wasteland. Okay. So they're trying to do some Saga gaming of their own, I guess. Ripples. Well, this is a spot where we could test the theory that this works through Graveyard Hate, which I'm pretty sure it does. Or I could continue leaving up Beseiju, and that's what I'm going to do. Opponents at 5. They should be suspicious that I haven't equipped Shadow Spear. They would actually be dead if I did last turn. But I think it's fine to play around what I played around instead of that, which mostly doesn't matter. Dark Ritual. Is it happening? This could be a Beseech the Mirror for Helm. Alright, the mirror has been beseeched. They could just have like some sweeper. The One Ring. They did cast it, so they get protection from everything. Okay. Mostly whatever. I'm going to convert Ripples into currency. I actually do like the Forest, because now I can equip Shadow Spear without tapping out a Beseiju. Children's Edict is a little extra sauce on the turkey. Okay. Here's this. This doesn't stop protection. It stops Hexproof and Indestructible. They're safe for the turn, but they're in trouble moving forward. And this Ring is pretty close to deadly. They don't have a lot of time on that either, because they started the chain at 5. Vault of Whispers. I did tap out of Edict plus Beseiju to equip Shadow Spear, which, if they did like Dark Ritual out Voidwalker and then also assemble Helm, then I would have died here, where I actually do have the 2 perfect answers in hand. Okay, cool. The expected thing just happened. Okay, we're playing against Black Helm combo. I have a Helm of my own. I'm not going to leyline them back, but they should have... Or, wait, nope, these aren't symmetrical. Shit. I was about to say I could just Helm them off their own leyline, but literally not how any of that works. Vexing Bauble, we saw that in their deck, which is an interesting card to put in your deck next to Beseech the Mirror. But I guess they're betting that it's fine. I kind of want Bauble myself. Vengeful Pharaoh doesn't matter. Entomb seems like a huge trap. Nile Spellbomb doesn't matter. I don't think I want something like Damping Sphere. They probably do have Ancient Tomb in their deck, and we've seen Beseech, which knocking some mana off that could help, but I don't think it's worth it overall. The problem with Nile Spellbomb is it's not even a cantrip if they have a leyline in play, because it's when it's put into the graveyard, you may pay black and draw a card, and I might not have a graveyard. I could bring in 1 Damnation if they pivot onto creatures, which my deck's already full of removal for. I could Plague Engineer and name Orc, I guess. It's better than nothing. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm not excited to play Plague Engineer, but it is literally better than nothing, and I count these 3 cards as nothing for the matchup. Okay, I mean, I don't like this, but knowing that they are a busted combo deck, having Thoughtseize to make sure I don't just die on turn 2 is a big help. I might not even get a turn 2. This deck can, with the Beseeches and the Leylines, assemble Helm Leyline very quickly. I'm keeping. The Peatland's a redraw. I'm on the draw. This hand is basically 2 cards different than it even looks right now, which is definitely how you should think about Magic Theory. Okay, I'm going to Mox Diamond first and discard this Urborg. And then I'm going to play Verdant Catacombs. And then I'm going to Thoughtseize. This sequence is to avoid Opposition Agent. Okay. Actual Urborg. Hell yeah, opponent. Kudos to you. Target creature loses first strike or Swamp Walk. That rules so hard. I'm going to take Voidwalker. That's the one I'm more worried about. And I'm going to fetch now before they get to draw an Opposition Agent. I use in play. Let's go. I'm a little worried about this Urza Saga. Going to have to figure that out. but my deck does play a lot of answers to that between the Wastelands and the Besajus. Smallpox, also not a bad solution to this problem, because they'll have to sack a land. Even if they don't sack the Saga, they have to sack Swamp, and then Saga will die without making any constructs. I'm doing this. I'm just deciding what land I'm going to sacrifice. If I just cast it now, it has to be Bayou, but I could just play out Swamp and then cast it, then discard probably Cabal Pit. They also get to drop the Bowmaster this turn. They can do that after the Pox. Peatland gets worse if they have Bowmaster in play. Verdant Catacombs feeds the Cabal Pit. Yeah, I'm going to sack basic Swamp. They're floating mana. Oh, they didn't need to do it like that. They could have floated the mana, let this resolve, and then keep both creatures, but now they lose the Orc army. Slightly suboptimal, but still allowed. Discard Catacombs. If I had fetched with Catacombs and discarded Swamp, that's actually an extra card in my graveyard as we're closer to Cabal Pit. They sack the Swamp, and they discarded Urborg. Coward. Vault of Wisps is probably a better card. So unless they draw a Dark Ritual, they can't get a construct out of this Saga. Oh shit. Well, that one works too. That was the best possible draw imaginable. Well, Wasteland is not bad. They will end up with a 3/3 construct in play. Okay, so they're making the construct, obviously. That's going to happen. Now I have the option. I can Wasteland the Ancient Tomb, leave them with just Vault of Whispers for mana, but they get a Tutor and Vault of Whispers, which leaves 4 power on board. I think I'd rather bet against them having any mana than leave them with Ancient Tomb and a smaller construct. That Wasteland gives me Threshold, so I can kill Orcish Bowmaster with Cabal Pit this turn, and then it's just me versus the construct. Pithing Needle, they named Wasteland last game. Named Wasteland this game also. Vault of Whispers, and they attack for 4. Lots of ways to stabilize from here, but I am behind. It is my job to figure out how I'm not losing this game. Hey! That's a good way to not lose the game. I'm going to Cabal Pit the Bowmaster this turn, and then Liliana the Construct next turn. I'll be at 6 when I stabilize, but I will be stable. Oh no, another Saga. That's pretty terrible. They couldn't make it easy on me. The nightmare is if their hand has another Bowmaster in it. Okay, Liliana, get you out here. Because they could flash in Bowmaster in response to my Liliana minus, ping the Liliana, she's dead, sack the Orc army, just kill me. Hope they don't have that. Moment of truth. Okay, their creature's gone. Now they actually need a land to make a construct with Saga. Oh god, and step Dark Ritual? The hell is this shit? Oppo, alright. I hope they attack Liliana and not me. That would be the ideal situation here. If they just go face, though, which they should. Yeah, they figured it out. Okay. Don't have a land, don't have a land. Okay, they didn't have a land. Smallpox could stabilize me here. Okay. Dark Ritual. Smallpox. I go to 2. Oh no, don't do stuff. Oh, Dark Ritual in response. Okay. That makes them a construct. No, now I probably lose. That was a great card to have in your hand. Okay, they're making a construct. Now they sack things. I get a draw. And I don't think there's a 1-mana card in my deck that gets me out of this. Oh, this was a great match. Came down to the wire. Insane top decks all around. Yeah, I sack the Bayou. Draw a card. Or plus Liliana first. Because I'm going to want to do that. Then I draw a card. Fatal Push is not in my deck. Ripples. All right. GG. Sick one. That was awesome. Okay, now I'm on the play. And Opposition Agent confirmed. Not that I had any confusion about that card being in the deck. Yeah, I'm just gonna submit my deck. I think these are the best cards I can have. Okay, I have Dark Ritual Hymn to Turok, and then I have Loam. This is not, like, good, but it's also kind of exciting. I don't know, turn 1 Hymn to Turok is sweet. They didn't Leyline, that's good news. Dark Ritual, Hymn to Turok. We're both down 2 cards here. 2 lands went to the graveyard. Let's hope they don't have any more of those. And it'll be a great time to draw Ripples of Undeath. Vault of Whispers. They still had a land. Unlucky. Seeing 2 lands go to the graveyard off a turn 1 Hymn to Turok is such a wild ride. It's like, was that the perfect thing or the worst thing? We'll never know. They tapped a mana, then backed off. I think they have Opposition Agent. I'm going to play Maze of Ith. If they do Ritual and an Oppo in the end step, at least I can boop it. Maze of Ith would have won me last game. Okay, we got a Saga Gamer. I need a Wastelander or a Beseiju. Or my own Saga to keep up. My Urborg has turned on their Saga for black mana. Oh, they could beseech for the One Ring right now. That's gross. That's going to be really hard to beat. Unless they have some way to actually outright win. Karn the Great Creator. I mean, that's good too. That did cost them their ability to activate Urza Saga. That seemed really aggressive. I'm not saying it's wrong, because having Karn in play is obviously good, but Karn doesn't win the game on his own. If they get Liquid Metal Coating here, and they have a mana source, and I don't draw Wastelander or Beseiju, that is a bad recipe. Top of the deck, here we go. Save me. Oh, Vexing Bauble? I do not give a shit about that. Thoughtseize. What you're working with over there. We know about Vexing Bauble. Oppo, another Saga, Bauble, Shadow Spear, and it's Oppo. Yeah, I'm just going to take Oppo. Wish there was a land in my graveyard, but there's not. I could Loam targeting nothing, but there's a good chance Karn can get graveyard hate. But they have to use Karn to do that then. Okay, yeah, I am going to Loam target nothing and try to get the Dredge Train rolling. But if they're using the precious second Karn activation to get something like Tormod Script, I think that's fine. There's the Saga. Here comes Karn. Liquid Metal Coating. Okay. That does turn off my green mana. This is not okay. This is actually horrible. Draw step. They haven't coated me yet, and they didn't coat me. I think I'm dead, though. I needed something way better than that out of this. And now we are actually in the squeeze that I think they should have put me in last turn. But I guess that I would have Thoughtseize their face off. So they just grabbed some random shit that didn't matter last turn. And then we're playing around. If they were playing around discard intentionally, then they did a great job with this card. And now they're going to kill my forest. Then I can't Dredge Loam anymore. Grab Chrome Mox off of Karn. Yeah, that makes a construct. That's an actual win con, and they can kill my forest. I'll give myself a turn to draw Children's Edict, or what is my removal spell called? Bitter Triumph. I'm not completely without draws here. I am in trouble, though. Big draw, not dredging Loam. Big draw, Burn Catacombs. Guess I'm still playing. Potential green source in the mix. They could Pithing Needle Catacombs. But I think I'm fine if they're tutoring Pithing Needle on this board. It's not like I can fetch to make it not happen, because then they just kill the Bayou. And the Catacombs is a swamp anyway. If they kill the swamp, I am down to 1 mana. Yeah. But the Dark Ritual gives me any of my outs here. Dark Ritual plays off of 1 basic swamp. And they might even prioritize killing the Maze of Ith so they can push damage. Shadow Spear, Bauble, Construct's huge. And they are targeting Maze of Ith. That's gone. I take 6. Then even if I draw an answer to Karn, I take another 6. Or it'll be 7 next turn with the Shadow Spear. 6 plus 7 is 13. I think I have to fetch here. I just have to give myself as many outs as possible to draw the specific cards, and we are in the emergency deck thinning phase of things. Oh, right. JK. They have the Pithing Needle. We had a whole conversation about that, then I just forgot. Thoughtseize is not it. GG. Cool. Yeah, it turns out turn 1, turn 2, whatever that was a very fast card in the Great Creator, and it got the job done. We still had outs for a couple turns there, but playing from behind. Very cool match. On to the next one.
Welcome to TopDeck.gg, your community's home for everything competitive Magic has to offer. If you're hosting an event, playing for a huge prize, or advertising your events to thousands of players, we've got you covered. Using intuitive pairing software, playing Magic is a breeze. Players just have to sign up online, then scan the QR code in-store. Give competitors the gift of perfect information as their bracket updates in real time. The self-reporting software saves you time and leaves paper match slips in the past. Leave the heavy lifting to TopDeck.gg so your community can relax and focus on playing Magic.
I'm on the draw for round 3 with a hyper disruptive hand starting at 2 mana. I'll keep. There are decks in Legacy that could just kill me or put me behind to the point where this hand is a joke. I could also just draw Dark Ritual or Mox Diamond, or it could be a normal slow matchup. I think in the spread of things that might happen here, I'm fine with this keep in the blind. Scalding Tarn Go off a Mull to 6. Currency Converter. Alright. I'm going to stick this, homie. If they have something like Daze, I'm fine setting them back a land. My whole deck is about setting them back a land. And if they don't have Daze, then Currency Converter's in play. Wasteland, played around it. Oh, sick. Thoughtseize, the perfect tool here. I get to play around Daze for a turn, see what they're up to. They could Wasteland my Catacomb. I fetch in response. They Daze in response when my fetch is on the stack. But again, that's kind of like Thoughtseizing Wasteland out of play. And I'm okay with that sequence. And then they also have to pick up a land a Daze. So they're actually, that puts them to 0 permanence. Yeah, that would actually be devastating for them. Okay, so we've got Force Dress Down, Doorkeeper Thrall, Plow. I can kill Doorkeeper Thrall. We're definitely playing as a Dreadnought deck. Forcing him to Turok is basically the same as him to Turok resolving, because you lose 2 cards either way, but this way we know that it's specifically Force of Will and a blue card. I'm also fetching ahead of time because this is going to be a deck with Stifle in it. We're going to see a Meticulous Archive here. There it is. Okay, if they draw Dreadnought, there's one unknown card in hand. If they go Dress Down Dreadnought right now, I can just Edict it. Edicts are so good versus Dreadnought. It's hardly even fair. Okay, him to Taraku. Are we going to see Force Dress Down leave the hand or 2 random cards leave the hand? Storm in response. Okay, so they can just make their hand the worst cards possible, which is another way to play around him to Tarak. But now they had to spew off a weird Brainstorm, and then I'm going to take 2 random cards. That's worth like 2 1/3 cards or something. I don't know, we can make up fake math all day, but I like the exchange is what I'm saying. Doorkeeper Thrall. Okay, so they may have set up a Dreadnought for next turn. They lost Tundra Dress Down. Okay, I mean, if they have perfectly threaded the needle where... Or no, it's impossible to thread this needle because they can't have Dreadnought and Force Blue card out of 2 cards. That's a 3-card line. Oh, big Liliana. I will cast this creature, or this permanent, not a creature. Again, if they have Force Blue card, it's fine. Stifle would be kind of solid here, but their thing is gone. And now they're in the position where they have Wasteland, they have a target, but they might need the mana more than I do. Tameo, okay. We know their hand at this point is Force of Will, Swords to Plowshares. We've worked through the Brainstorm. If I just cast 2 Smallpoxes, they'll be down to 1 land and Hellbent. Okay, I'm going to start with the first Smallpox. Boom. And I'm going to discard Sheoldred's Edict, because both of us are going to be empty this turn anyway. And then I'm going to play Verdant Catacombs, play the other Smallpox. Sack the Bayou. Discarded Force of Will, their hand is Swords to Plowshares. I get a 2/2 under the Converter, and then I'm going to play the other Pox. This is proper Pox gaming. I don't want anyone to have anything ever. We'll each discard a card, and I'm just going to fetch my basic forest now to play around Stifle, and then I can cast every card in my deck forever while I attack them for 2. Make the 2/2 in the end step. I'll Spellbomb. Get that in there. I think being able to cantrip is more interesting to me than having a 2/2 under Currency Converter right at this moment. I still have a land drop. I'm just going to bomb them. If I find Wasteland or Urza Saga here, ended up finding Edict, which is good against their deck, but does make me plussing every turn with Liliana a little wonky. They found a Wasteland, they're Hellbent, which means that I don't need to plus Liliana. Oh, we're Rippling now. Ripley's, believe it or not. I could plus and lose the Ripples. I could plus and lose the Edict. I'm going to plus the Edict away. Their deck takes an A and a B to function, and they are locked under Liliana. Like, they need an A and a B, and then the creature needs to connect, and Liliana makes that harder to happen. Yeah, I'm not worried about having Sheoldred Edict in my hand, given the current position. And if I can get extra cards, it means I can keep plusing Lily and keep converting currency. I drew another Liliana, I don't need that. Do I want to pay 3 life to put a Wasteland in my hand? Yes. I play Wasteland, attack for 4, plus Liliana. The current builds of Dreadnought don't usually play Urza Saga. I also don't think I'm worried about Saga right now. I'm going to Wasteland this Tundra, because now they can't evoke Null Drifter, which is a way to get ahead of the Liliana. Yeah! Boxing their face off. A Damnation I like well enough. It's a little clunky, but sometimes you just need to remove their permanent from play, and you don't really care if it's pretty. Isle Spellbomb doesn't matter. Bitter Triumph, Children's Edict, Smallpox, Liliana, all phenomenal. Vengeful Pharaoh, a little tough to take 12 and then answer the thing, but again, if I have 13 life, that's good enough. I really like picking apart their hand. Wow, Process of Elimination quickly leaves me without many cards I actually want to take out here. Maybe Dark Ritual. It's a little hard to go all in versus the Daze Stifle deck. With a Dark Ritual, it's also a bad top deck later. Don't really want to cut any of my lands. Kaseju's a great answer to Dreadnought. Cabal Pit can kill Doorkeeper Thrall, maybe even in response to Dreadnought. Gross. Okay, Damnation's in. Isle Spellbomb, Dark Ritual out. Like my hand. No discard spells. No targeted discard spells, which is a bummer. Little soft to Stifle as well. Tameo. There's that one. Bitter Triumph is cool. I'm just going to fetch a Swamp before they can stifle me. Tameo is going to make a Clue. If she flips into a Planeswalker, if they just have the Brainstorm to do that, I'm actually... I was going to say soft for that, but that's not even true. I have Bitter Triumph in my hand. Multiple Smallpoxes now. If I just shove one of these and it resolves, what do I do with that information? I discard Damnation and move on with life, and if they counter it, I got another one ready, or Liliana, which is even better. I'm just going to send it. Force of Will pitching Brazen Borrower. Yeah, we got 2 cards off of that. That's a deal. Cracking their Clue in the end step. Okay, Force of Will means that they don't have Daze, or they didn't have Daze. They've drawn 2 cards since they made that decision. It could be 3 with this Clue token. A Brainstorm at any point could be a blowout. Smallpox here. What does that do? I lose Damnation. I really like Liliana. She's bad against Stifle and bad against Brainstorm. I'm going to try to go for Liliana. They Force of Will to Dazeable spell last turn. If they found Daze, good job. If they didn't, Lily's insane. Cluing in response. Okay. Brainstorm is what I'm worried about at this point. Stifle, stops Liliana, but is mostly fine. Okay, none of the above. I'll take that. Very happy with that answer. That also means I'm free to fetch because they don't have Stifle. That would have been such a good spot to use it. Get lost. Okay. I get 2 maps. If I ever have a creature, boy, look out for that. Entomb. Okay, it's Ripple's time. This card has been insane this whole league. Very impressed. Dress down. Okay. There might be a Dreadnought in my near future. Hopefully just one. If there's multiples, that hurts a bit. But I do have Damnation. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. There's 2 of those. I'm going to Entomb in the end step and get the Vengeful Pharaoh in there. End step Entomb. Vengeful Pharaoh. That means I only have to answer one of these Dreadnoughts now. That is a trigger that is stifleable, and like I said, if I'm just at 12, it doesn't matter. Okay, I mill 3 here. I hit Loam. I did find the land. I do want that land. Is Loam better than a land? No, because I can't do all of it that turn. I will pay 3 to get the Swamp back, and I'm going to Edict. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature. Do it now before they could flash in a jerk. If their hand is forced blue card, they win. Okay, 1 down. They can hit me with this, stifle the Pharaoh trigger, and then I have 2 more removal spells in my hand. Actually, I have 4 more removal spells in my hand. All right, Vengeful Pharaoh, do your thing. Boom, it's done. Okay, coast is clear. And the Loam's in the graveyard. I have the whole combo. Evoking Null Drifter, drawing 2, and they didn't draw a Stifle. Tameo, okay. I'm going to dredge Loam in my draw step. That puts Pharaoh back. Is Pharaoh unblocked or damage? Damage. Okay, Tameo actually perfect counter to Pharaoh somehow. Wasteland, Sheoldred's Edict, Life from Loam. I'm not going to pay 3 life when I'm at 1 for any of those things. I am going to fetch for basic forest. Get back Wasteland, Catacombs, Catacombs. Play Wasteland. I could play around Days, or I could Wasteland them first. Fuck Days. No respect. Smallpox. Yeah, the problem with trying to play around Days there is that they would sack the Tundra first to Smallpox because they'd see the Wasteland in play, and I want to actually stop their lands from being lands. I'm going to sack basic mountain, or swamp, whatever type of thing it is that I play. And for now, from now till the end of the game, Ripples is just a Loam enabler, because I can never pay 3 again unless I hit Shadow Spear, which is in the graveyard, so literally not possible. Dredge Loam. I need to find a Saga so I can win this game. I did find a Saga. Saga, Mazavith, Wasteland back to hand. There's a Saga trigger. These 2 maps actually insane here. And I can Bitter Triumph a creature, discarding a card. Like I said in the deck tech, discarding a card, pretty trivial at this stage of the game. I have 7 more turns before Ripples plus Draw Step deck me. Less if I Dredge Loam. And step Dress Down. Alright, they're making their move. I'm holding Mazavith to answer 1 big creature. Wasteland's pretty good. If they Wasteland my Urborg, that would actually be really clever. Uh-oh. Big Null Drifter. Haven't Wastelanded me at all yet. Okay, I'm going to kill Null Drifter, discarding Verdant Catacombs. Okay. This means I have to Dredge Loam, which means I go from 7 turns to 6. Dredge Loam, Ripples, get back Saga. Now there's another Saga in there. Saga, Saga, Wasteland, Saga. I would honestly feel like I could never lose this game if Ripples wasn't in play, though I also feel like I'm in this game because Ripples is in play. Maybe playing some way to remove your own Ripples is something you can do. You can minus Liliana targeting yourself, but I wonder if we want just... I wish Passaggio could hit my own stuff. That would be so good. That would make this so easy. Wizards, we need an errata immediately. If they are a Wasteland deck, we've seen 1. If they just have 3 Wastelands, I have to Dredge Loam 3 times, which means I have to kill them in 3 turns instead of 6, based on cards left in my deck. But I have a Saga in hand, so that actually accelerates the whole business. Okay, not dredging anymore. They finally passed without doing anything. I milled some stuff, play another Saga, drew a Saga. Ooh, if they flash in Doorkeeper Thrall, uh-oh. I could have played Mazavith around this, but I am going to go to 1 here. If they find 1 other damage. And now all of their creatures are on. Oh, the Pharaoh. I forgot about the Pharaoh. Or I could just Pharaoh their shit. Yeah, get out of here. Sick. Thanks, Magic Online. I totally would have remembered that in paper. All right, they are a deck full of dress downs also. Oh my god. I might not be able to win this game before I'm decked. I'm going to draw the Pharaoh. Because at this point, basically have to. Okay. Make a construct. There's 2 dress downs gone already. Don't know if there's an artifact left in my deck. Oh, Currency Converter. That one's actually good. I'll take Currency Converter. Then I mill 3. I'm going to play Maze of Ith, just so I don't get cheesed out by another flash creature. I'm not going to sack these map tokens. They do not represent more damage than the power and toughness on the constructs does. I didn't get dressed down. If they have Thrall plus Wasteland, they win. They didn't have Thrall. I do see Wasteland. Let's see how they choose to use it. Okay, end step. Make a construct. Please don't have dress down. They could have taken 10 last turn strategically to make dress down worse for me. Okay, I am not going to make another construct because it doesn't matter at this point. Mox Diamond. Discard. Wasteland. Wow, okay, they just didn't have it. Their deck is weirdly well positioned to make me deck myself with Ripples of Undeath because of the Wastelands and Dress Downs versus I basically need Saga to win the game. And we still had 15 cards left in the deck, plenty of room, but I could see how that would go awry. Especially if opponent knew this is how the game would go and was able to sculpt around it. Just like use these Dress Downs a little more defensively rather than offensively. they might have been able to figure out that that's a win con. So either a way to remove my own ripples or a way to put my cards from my deck back into, or my graveyard back into my deck. Probably doing a Scryfall search to figure out a land that does one of those two things is worth it if you're going to play, especially multiple copies of ripples in the deck. But it has been insane. 3 for 3 on just being awesome. Let's go. The BoshNRoll channel is proudly partnered with the Resleevables.
Good. All right, here we go, gang.
In this YouTube series, hosts Cedric Phillips and Patrick Sullivan take us on a set-by-set journey through the good, the bad, and the ugly of Magic's history. Each episode is a focused deep dive into the facts about a set's design and release, the Magic lore expressed through the cards in that set, Tournament Edition gameplay videos featuring products and Pro Tour decks of the era, an award show that shouts out the best and weirdest cards of the set, and a final grade for the set's overall success. Whether you want a history lesson or a nostalgia hit, The Resleevables has it at youtube.com/theresleevables. I'm on the draw in round number 4 with turn 1 double Hymn to Turok if I'm interested. I'm very interested. The record will show. Bloodstained Mire. Could be Grixis Delver or a combo deck. Those are the only decks that played Bloodstained Mire. Grixis Delver confirmed. Boseiju. Alright, I'm going to cast Dark Ritual and see if they daze it. I'll start there. This would be a reasonable thing to daze, I think. Okay, that's fine. I could have spent this turn wastelanding them, but if they daze, they're still down a land. And then I could just do what I want to do next turn. Volcanic Island's back. Ponder. This is the third card type into Brainstorm. Getting rid of Brainstorm is really interesting because normally that card is just good. Do I think they're digging for a land or a threat? And Brainstorm would help dig for a threat. I feel like them getting rid of Brainstorm is them indicating that they really need another land right now. They didn't shuffle Ponder though, so they found what they were looking for. And I draw for turn. Liliana of the Veil. Interesting. I'm going to Wasteland and then Ritual out Liliana. It would have to be Force of Will to answer it at this point. And this thing's so messed up if it's in play. She's in. Okay. Put you to no permanence. I can't cast these hymns till I find another black source. But I can cast Bitter Triumph off Boseiju. And my deck's full of black sources. Wasteland. That is not mana here. Nile Spellbomb. That's like kind of maybe relevant someday. Black source. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hymn to Turok. Psychic Frog, Brazen Borrower gone, plus Liliana. I'm going to discard the other hymn. They're not going to have a hand after this turn. Discard other hymn. And they lost a Fatal Push. Now it is Nile Spellbomb and last card in hand versus Liliana of the Veil. And the one land they haven't played doesn't cast spells. Ponder. So they can ponder into putting a card on top of their deck for next turn. They shuffle the library, which means they didn't manipulate this at all. If there's a good card in their hand right now, Liliana can just have it. Mox Diamond kind of rules. Yeah, that lets me play around Wasteland. I end up losing the Bitter Triumph here, but with Liliana in play, I have the next creature answered anyway. And I am ready to draw any card. I don't want them to draw Lightning Bolt this turn. They can draw it next turn, and I won't mind. Light from the Loam actually is sweet here because if I cast it, they're going to pop a draw card, then I can Liliana. Alright, none of the above. Drew a Mox Diamond that I can't use. And they will have a turn to have 2 cards in hand if they want to pop the Spellbomb just for digs. And if they do that, that means Loam is back on. Entomb is back on. Okay, Spellbombing for the digs. They will have 2 cards in their hand with which to sculpt out the rest of the game. Land is one of them. And Nethergoyf. Okay. I mean, I will have to kill that thing twice, and it's pretty big. But if I draw my Nile Spellbomb right now, that would be so sick. Smallpox. Interesting. I don't really want to lose a land here. Yeah, I'll make them sack the Nethergoyf, make them recast it, then pox them afterwards. And hope they don't draw exactly Lightning Bolt in between. It costs 3 mana plus 4 card types to escape Nether Goyf. Here's the Goyf. Somehow still a 5/6. They hit so many cards in their graveyard. Who put all those there? Didn't lightning bolt me. Okay, sweet. Wasteland your volcanic island. Smallpox. And then get Liliana back to work. This is a very low resource game for both of us. Liliana doing all of the work here. But I'm in a great spot to draw life from the Loam now. There's a Wasteland in the graveyard, and the Nile Spellbomb's been cleared. Liliana's back up to 3, and they don't have red, which means I can minus a frog. Okay, they just have more Spellbombs. That's fine. I'm still in that spot where drawing Loam is good because of timing. Cabal Pit and plus. Cabal Pit just a bad swamp versus the double Spellbomb deck. And they are just popping off to try to have a turn where they have 2 cards in their hand. Their next land can re-escape Nether Goyf. Okay, they found a land. Goyf can return to the battlefield. The mighty recursive threat, still a 5/6. They've exiled 8 cards from their graveyard, and still it has not changed size. Ooh, the Re-Liliana. Okay, sack a creature. Re-Liliana is kind of sweet. And they're starting to get to a spot where I don't like the amount of resources they have access to. Now they could reasonably do something like Bolt Liliana, play Psychic Frog, and have Days Up for my other Liliana. They're like starting to do it. This Nether Goyf being worth 3 cards so far has been awesome. What a dope card this is. I have a weird up and down relationship with this card. Like when Modern Horizons 3 came out, this thing was selling for like $30, $35, and I was like, it's not worth that. And now I'm like, this might be worth $35, but it costs like 13. Good time to get these. Feel like they're going to be a multi-format staple for a while. Another one from hand. Well played. Okay. How do we solve this? Land would be great so I could play around Days. Oh my god. Not only is it a land, it's the best land. This means I can minus here and then play the other Liliana plus clear the card from their hand. That can't be Force of Will, or it can be Force of Will, but it can't be Days because I don't care. And then this one will be on 4 when they escape the one next to her. And then now Saga's going. We're doing it. And it was Days. Oh my god, what a good time to draw a land. But that's what I was talking about. That's the sort of sequence where they could stick a threat, have Days back up, and represent another threat. And it doesn't take many cards for Delver to put together something like that. Oh, they're bobbling now. I guess they're betting that I'm going to minus Liliana so they can have a card in their hand. Yeah, that's a safe bet. But I do play Thoughtseize. Nether Goyf's back, still a 5/6. 12 cards in exile. Haven't lost a single card type yet. They draw for Bauble. I draw a Dark Ritual. That card's not very good. Okay. Sacrifice your Nether Goyf, please. Saga can tutor for Nile Spellbomb. We're almost at the end of this Nether Goyf concern situation, but it is going to cost me my whole Liliana to do that. And if they found a Lightning Bolt, like if they have Lightning Bolt land here, I'm actually just behind. They have Wasteland. Okay, that means that I won't get the Nile Spellbomb. I do get a 2/2 in play. And now I have a target for a Life from the Loam if I ever find one of those. Nether Goyf is now a 4/5. 16 cards, and they finally had to go down 1 card type. Can I draw one of the many removal spells in my deck? No. Interesting. Okay. Do I want to chump for a turn, or do I want to delete my Liliana? I think I want to chump for a turn. Plus Lily. Discard Dark Ritual. Play my land. They can escape the other Goyf here, but that's going to cost them cards in their graveyard, which hopefully will make both Goyfs smaller. They have exactly 4 card types in the graveyard right now. I don't think they drew Lightning Bolt this turn, or they would have just bolted Construct. Psychic Frog, that's a horrifying draw. I am falling behind here. I'm going to fetch in the end step for Basic Forest. Or I have Mox Diamond, I don't need Basic Forest. Do they play Brazen Borrower? I'm not even sure. Alright, I'm going to get Swamp. Swamps are good. Alright, deck. Big turn. Oh no. I'm so fucked. Well, team, we're in trouble. I can only get to 5 cards in my graveyard, even if I spew off this Mox Diamond. And this Cabal Pit, that's the 2 Nile Spellbombs. It took both of them, but they are successfully doing it. And Psychic Frog is templated in 2024, so it also triggers off damaging a Planeswalker, not just a player. And this is exactly what I've been talking about the whole league, where Pox can have control for, it's turn 14, and I was ahead for, I think, 12 of those turns. But I never found a Loam, never found a Ripples, never pulled ahead. It's helped that Nethergoyf has been worth 4 cards by itself. But they had a Graveyard Engine, and I didn't. They had main deck Graveyard Hate, and I haven't found mine. Fetching land number 4. Damnations are not in the main deck. Goyf's down to 2-3 at this point, but all it has to do is be an Edict. Oh, they went Hellbent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I draw a card that I can put into my graveyard, like any spell, I can kill Psychic Frog this turn. I'll Spellbomb. Okay. That's actually awesome. I believe we have completely solved the problem here. Spellbomb, Spellbomb you. I even get to draw a card. Draw a card. Oh shit, I should have Mox Diamond first. Because I would have been able to... Damn it. Yeah, I would have been able to exile the Psychic Frog so the Goyfs have no power toughness. Play Nurturing Peatland. Spew off Mox Diamond. Kill Psychic Frog. That was a huge mistake, actually. Now these are 1/2s instead of 0/2s, or 0/1s. Yikes. I had a great draw, got excited, didn't map out the whole turn. Now they have 2 power instead of 1. There's no fetchables left in my opponent's deck. That's good information. But I'm on a 4-turn clock instead of an 8-turn clock. Completely due to my own decision. Cabal Pit, though, MVP. Showing up big at a time where it was needed. Burning Catacomb sucks. I'm going to draw with Peatland. Ripples. I don't have a lot of life to play with here. But, I mean, one good card could flip it. This is a huge... Like, the 1, 2, 3, 4. I will have taken 4 extra damage because of this Psychic Frog sequencing error, and that's a whole Ripples activation that I don't have now. And if I just fall a little short here, 1000% on me. Okay, I'm at 8. A Ripples will put me to 5 if I take the card. Smallpox, all right. Ripples, found another Smallpox. I could just Pox twice. Or no, I can't because I only have 3 mana because this costs 1. I'm going to decline this Ripple and then Pox and sacrifice the Verdant Catacombs. This gets the card out of their hand and takes some of the pressure off me. Oh, I caramba. Sure would love to be at 11 right now instead of 7. Brainstorm. Brainstorms from 0 cards in hand are less scary than Brainstorms from any number of cards in hand, but it's still not great if they just add like a prog to this board right now. It also puts Goyf up to 3-4. Molten Collapse my Mox Diamond. That's bad for me too. And it's a sorcery. All right, now I can't even use Ripples. I have to naturally draw an Edict. All right, naturally draw Smallpox. Edict. Liliana, no! My queen, you would have been the one. And I can't afford to pay. Yeah, GG. Exactly the problem. If this Ripples came up 5 turns ago, we win easily. If I find a life from the Loam in that game, basically at any point, we take it over. But I also just took 4 damage I didn't need to because of a sequencing error, which would have given me 1 more turn to play that game, which might have resolved the Liliana. I don't know. That's actually... We played a very long game and I made 1 small mistake. I'm not trying to like mold on it or just like be crazy here. I'm just pointing out, making it very clear what it looks like, how 1 little thing can change the entire course of a game. Also never milled over my Vengeful Pharaoh. That would have swung that game. I think I want Dark Rituals out because they're bad top decks, and Thoughtseize are also bad top decks. I want to kind of play to the board more Damnations and Plague Engineers. And this is what I'm going to do. The ley lines are only for dedicated graveyard combo decks. Don't bring them in against decks just because they have some graveyard synergies. Oh, this hand is a little stinky, really soft to Wasteland. I'm going to keep it, though. I would rather have more cards in my hand than less cards in my hand against one of the best decks in the format. I'm going to play Shadow Spear. If they're going to Wasteland me, I prefer they waste my wastes than my Urborg. Volcanic Island. Dragon's Rage Channeler. I'd love to just draw lands. Okay, that's a land. I could go for the Pox here, where if they daze it, then they're down a land all the same. I actually like boxing here more than I like hemming here, because I think they have to answer this. And I have many boxes in my hand. They force pitching Frog. In order to do that, I did have to open myself up to big Wasteland. I might just get mana screwed here if they waste my Urborg. But I believe it was the correct play with what I had available. Second Channeler. And they do have the Wasteland. And they are going after Urborg. Game just entered hard mode. If I can find another land to get this Saga into play, or get the Saga going, in the next 2 draw steps, if a land shows up, I could overpower what they're doing. Because that is a situation where wastelanding my Urborg is a wasteland they don't have for Saga. I drew Mox Diamond. That's a big help, but I do still have to draw a land this turn, or else all of this is for naught. I'm taking 2. Ponder. Post-combat Ponder. I feel like there's a good chance they would have gotten Delirium here pre-combat. And they played their land before casting Ponder, which means that ripping Wasteland now to completely shut me out of the game is not an option. They could also just have Meltdown in their deck at this point and not be worried about what I'm doing over here. It only matters if I draw a land this turn, though. It's a big turn to do that. Mishra's Bauble, yeah, they would have had Delirium, so that's 4 damage I didn't take. We've both taken the opportunity to not deal as much damage as we could, or at least not affect combat math as much as we could. Okay, moment of truth. Land off the top, please, deck. Land. Always had it. I'm going to play Mox Diamond. It makes my construct bigger and starts getting colored sources into play, which I'm currently missing. It exposes me even worse to Meltdown, but I'm not beating that card anyway, so I'm not going to play around it. Got an Underground Sea in the end step, and played another Brainstorm, digging like crazy. And they kept the card. Hate that for me. They do have a Wasteland. If they're walking me into a Meltdown here, they are going to win the game. I will concede immediately. Lightning Bolt also takes me out of the game, but Meltdown especially. They could hold the Lightning Bolt till I try to equip Shadow Spear, which is my play next turn. They passed with 3 cards in hand. A Swamp, okay. Do I want to try to equip Shadow Spear, or do I want him to Turok them first? I think I want to soften them up with a hymn, or I should go to combat first, which tells them I am not equipping Shadow Spear, which tells them I am casting a spell. Him to Turok. Force of Willed that, pitching Ponder. Kept their card on top. And I actually am going to waste their red source here. I'm worried about Lightning Bolt and Meltdown. And the race is raceable with Shadow Spear. I go to 5. I go back up to 9. I do need some follow-up here, but I think this is my best plan to win the game. Did find a second land. It's not red, though. Shadow Spear equip. Attack for 4. Gain 4. They're at 10. I'm at 9. Play a land. Okay, now I'm a removal spell away from winning the race. Uh-oh. Red mana unlocked. For casting a spell. Barrogoyf! Oh, no. That's so big. Alright, I was right to wasteland them, but not for the reason I thought. Now removal spell is not good enough. Straight from the Barrow. Even ripping a land here and double smallpoxing isn't enough, which would have been last turn. Okay. A good game, but we saw that classic Pox flood out in game 1, where I just didn't have an engine, even though I had complete control of the game, and then they came back. And this one was really hinging around Urborg being in play, and they had the Wasteland for that. GG's, though. Put up a fight against one of the top decks in the format. On to the final round.
We're a few rounds into the video. Thanks for sticking with me. Friendly reminder that if you're still here and having fun, smash that subscribe button. And if you want to play what I'm playing, you can use my affiliate link for TCG Player to support the channel while you shop for cards, and you can try any deck anytime with a cardhoarder.com loan account for Magic Online. All these links are in the video description below. Now back to the league.
I'm on the draw in the final round with a hand that I unfortunately cannot count on here. Dark Ritual for Thoughtseize, Pox leaving both of us with nothing. Actually, kind of rules. If this was a swamp, or if this was a green source where Loam might get online, I'd think about it, but I don't know. How many green sources are in my deck, actually? This might be one of those, like, hero moments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 12. That's like basically 0. Okay, I'm going to mulligan. This hand is not exciting, but it does play magic, which excites me in its own way. I will keep it. And I'm going to bottom Dark Ritual. With Mox Diamond, I don't need that. Bloodstained Mire. Show me the Grixis Delver. Oh, a mountain. All right. Basic Mountain Dragon's Rage Channeler. What are we doing with that? We're getting Smallpox to hell, is what we're doing with that. How do I want to play this? Probably play the Bayou, Mox Diamond, discard Verdant Catacombs, Smallpox, discard Shadow Spear, and count on Urza Saga to win the game. Getting a creature and a land off an opponent who mulliganed, and they're down a card because they were on the play. There's a lot to like about this situation. I feel like any deck that would go Mountain DRC, Shadow Spear would be good against, but I think Bitter Triumph will be better. If I can keep the pressure off while this Saga ticks up. I discarded Fatal Push. Okay. Let's see how this goes. Ugly ass Pox gaming happening right now. Nethergoyf. Yep, ugly ass Pox gaming confirmed. They're bobbling me. I hope it's a mana source to get Saga going. Maze of Ith, what's up? I would rather get Saga going and just kill the Nethergoyf, though. Saga. Bitter Triumph. I will pay the 3 life. Seems worth it here. They know my hand is Maze of Ith. Okay, 2 cards in their hand, basic Swamp in play. They could very well be a Wasteland deck. Though the more basics you play, the harder it is to play Wasteland. Bobble. Okay. Just cycling through that, seeing the top of my deck. Is it a land that taps for mana? Oh, they had the Wasteland anyway. Emperor of Bones. We're in the Bone Zone. This is just passive graveyard hate and also a creature that hits pretty hard. And they know what I'm drawing this turn. And they don't seem worried about wastelanding me, which makes me nervous. They're exiling Nethergoyf. Okay. Which means that they're valuing... Oh, sick. Well, Life from the Loam is happening. That means that they're valuing the potential burst of damage out of this Nethergoyf adapting over actually escaping it someday. Because they can adapt this right now. They attack for, what is this, 9? It's 8. They attack for 8 this turn. And they can exile Dragon's Rage Channeler, but that won't really do anything. Yeah, they take my Loam, but that did its job. Got me over the hump here. I go to 8. I fetch basic Swamp. Oh, it's Sacrifice Nethergoyf. So it's not actually gone. Yep, thought that was an exile. No, it is an exile. Yeah, it has a finality counter. Okay, I was right just for reasons that are nebulous to me. Okay, there's a blocker. Unfortunately, I have already used my Shadow Spear, which I correctly identified would be good in the matchup if I could use it, which I can't. Currency Converter, Nile Spellbomb, Mox Diamond. Currency Converter could make this construct big enough to fight. It'll be 3/3. They waste my Maze of Ith. How important is this graveyard going to be? I think I want the Spellbomb. I think drawing a removal spell is the best thing I can do for myself here. Yep, there's the Wasteland. This will put me to 3. Dead to Lightning Bolt. Okay, dead in 2 hits. Even better than dead to Lightning Bolt. And they can exile Maze of Ith so I can't draw Life from the Loam. Okay. Big moment to draw a removal spell. I would take a Smallpox, any Edict, Liliana. Any Edict counts. Okay. Bayou, Sheoldred's Edict. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature. Get it the hell out. And do I need to Spellbomb now? Are they going to have a Delve creature? Black mana in the pool. Thought Seize Me. Thought Seize Me. Nethergoyf. Okay. I can make that a 0 power creature. I will do that and draw a card. Tenuous control of this game at this point. I'd love a Smallpox. Thoughtseize. Oh, that's dangerous. Actively can't Thoughtseize them, because that would put me to 1 and put a card in their graveyard, which is exactly lethal. Let's hope this Swamp can't put cards in the graveyard by itself. Thoughtseize. Oh no. Okay. I am at 2. Still, basically any draw is good here. Most cards in my deck play the game at this point. Liliana. Edict. Smallpox. No, not that one! Okay, well, I'm passing the turn. That sucks. We might just die here. If they can, like, crack a fetch land, we lose. Okay, deck. Enough joking. have a deck full of creature removal and powerful things. I can't Smallpox anymore either. Okay, cool. All it takes is one to get through. That Emperor of Bones just 8-balling me very quickly and also breaking up my life, or my Loam. That was really interesting. Okay, Damnation and Plague Engineer coming in. Nihil Spellbomb does matter, but I think less than this sort of thing. I'm going to cut the Entomb. I don't think I'm actually going to have time to Ripples. But Ripples is also the engine, and we saw the Moby deck get out from under my engine last round. Vengeful Pharaoh does not line up well against Emperor of Bones, but it does line up against the other creatures in the deck. I don't think I want to be doing this. They've shown me main deck Graveyard Hate. They have a lot of individual creatures. Maybe shave a Dark Ritual as a bad top deck. Can I do better than this? Is Plague Engineer actually any good? Just having a Death Touch body in front of Goyf is good enough. Nihil Spellbomb might be good enough against Goyf on its own that I want it. Thoughtseize. I did kind of flat out and die to those last game. I get to keep my Pharaoh and my Dark Ritual. I could go 0 Thoughtseize, focus on engines and exploding. Okay, I'm actually going to do that. That was a roller coaster of a sideboard plan. Okay, this is a turn 1 Liliana. I'm going to keep. Okay. I'm gonna Mox Diamond, discarding Cabal Pit, Dark Ritual Liliana, and discard Life from the Loam. This is the nut start if my opponent doesn't break it up. This is very close to the hand I would choose if I was cheating. Discarded Fatal Push. Some Graveyard Hate would be bad here. If they break up the Loam, then I'm not really doing anything. Badlands go. I'm gonna dredge Loam. I don't even mind getting Opposition Agent that much, so I'm just going to do this, because I can just minus. And they get to take my land, but I also get a 2-for-1. They tap mana, then change their mind. I don't know what that means. I'm going to get Swamp, and cast Life from the Loam. I do have exactly 3 targets. I'm going to play Verdant Catacombs and plus Liliana. I feel like they do have an Oppo, and they have chosen to pressure Liliana with it rather than attack my fetch land, which I think is the correct decision if that is what you have. End step, Moment of Truth. Oh my god, a Dark Ritual. Oh my god, an Opposition Agent. Who could have known these things? I'm gonna get Basic Forest. Just make sure my basic lands are set up here. What is the follow-up? Nether Goyf. That wasn't the Bone Zone. That's the card I was really worried about. Okay, Lily goes to 2. I'm going to dredge Loam. I milled over my Shadow Spear randomly. Going to miss that one eventually. Loam, target, Wasteland, Takenuma, Verdant Catacombs. Or hold on. There's currently 8 cards in my graveyard. But this basic forest, if I had fetched a Bayou or a Swamp last turn, I could actually kill both their creatures right now. That's so sick. Okay, mistakes were made. Takenuma, Wasteland, Verdant Catacombs. I'll get those back. And then I think I do throw away the Liliana here. I'm going to do that first, just in case their hand is Lightning Bolt. I don't want them to know that I can Shadow Realm them. I'll play Takenuma, and then I'm going to sacrifice Takenuma to the Pox. That will be better in my graveyard than it will be in play. Discard Catacombs. Sack Takenuma. They lost Magus of the Moon, which barely affects me here. Okay, this is the last turn they have to really do anything this game, and they did draw a Channeler, which also barely matters. I'm going to dredge Loam because I'm looking for Sagas. Cabal Pit, kill DRC, Loam back, Pit, Takenuma, and Basic, I guess. Alright, they've had enough. Nether Goyf would have been a really good draw there, but they packed it. This is a fun matchup. This league's been really good sports about putting interesting decks in front of me, with the exception of that one scummy Grixis Delver player. I think my plan is correct. No Thoughtseize feels right. Leyline of the Void would impact their deck, but I don't like it enough for it to be a bad draw later if it's not in my opening hand. I'm not going to mulligan for it if my hand just has like removal. So I will just hit submit. Okay, I like Shadow Spear. I like Pox. Let's do it. We know they can Dark Ritual Oppo. We know they play Magus of the Moon. We haven't seen a Wasteland yet, though it seems like a card the deck might play. Voidwalker, okay. And Thoughtseize, gross. That sucks ass. They probably take Smallpox, because that card's such a nightmare for their deck in general. They don't care about Loam as long as Voidwalker's in play, and Smallpox is the thing that clears the Voidwalker. They did take Smallpox. Removal is the thing my deck plays the most of. Alright, Mace of Ith will buy me some time eventually. I am going to fetch. I know this puts my card in the void, but knowing that they have Magus makes me want at least one access to stable mana. Oh, we have seen Wasteland because they wasted my Maze of Ith in game 1. Never mind. Wasteland confirmed. Glad I played around it. It's been a long day. Nether Goyf. Him to Turok feels kind of slow and bad at this point. Mox Diamond. Oh, sick. Now I get to do both. Mox Diamond, lose the Urborg. That helps them, and we have seen Basic Mountain. Him likely will make Nether Goyf bigger, but I'd rather that bigger than cards in their hand. We hit DRC and Shoulder's Edict. Now I need a removal spell to stabilize, and I need them to not have Wasteland. Bounce the Goyf out of combat. I'm at 13. They got 2 cards in hand, 1 mana to play with. Bobble. Come on, deck. Wasteland. Sure. I'm still not winning on board, but if they can't play any more spells... Right, Lightning Bolt. That does take a turn off the clock, but that's exactly the sort of thing I was trying to respond to. Get ahead of, so they can't just bolt me out. Alright, deck. An Edict, a Liliana, and a removal spell. Nihil Spellbomb, which doesn't even work. Oh, it makes Goyf a 0. It doesn't draw a card, but it makes Goyf a 0. I am something like stable here. There is a Wasteland in the Void if they want to go get that, but that doesn't solve their problem. Okay, kick the Voidwalker out of combat and bomb you. Okay, tenuous stability achieved. Removal spell, Liliana, something good. Not a Bayou. Okay, now they're just back to work putting cards in their graveyard by playing normal Magic. Fetch deals 1 to me. Lightning Bolts basically deals 2 to me. Falling behind. I did board in Damnation. That would be heckin' awesome to come up with one of those right now. Come on, deck. Let me play this game. Shoulder's Edict. Saying there's a chance. Okay, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature. Let's do that. The Goyf is gone. I'm dead to Lightning Bolt right now. Or for the rest of time. Send that back. Plague Engineer on Dothy leaves me at 1. Then I can start gaining life. Oh no, the Bone Zone. Damnation. It's got to be Damnation. Damnation! Plague Engineer, no! That was actually the card I just called out as potentially useful. And it would have been, but not if we're in the zone. Yeah, I end up at 4. No. This does keep me alive, technically. Barely. Or no, it doesn't, because the Goyf can attack, and this will be 4. Yep, alright. Just a little short. GG's. Another day, another awesome league with Loam Pox. The league was not positive, 2 and 3, but all the matches were close, and the wins were so satisfying. Things that we learned, Ripples on Undeath is awesome, but also with the speed of this deck, decking yourself might become a concern when you have complete control of everything, except suddenly you only have the size of your deck divided by 3, or divided by 4, because you get to draw step 2 to close the game out, which could be a concern. I think finding some land that can loop your graveyard, I'm actually going to look that up now, if that even exists. My first Scryfall search here, we've got Buried Ruin can return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand, and there's definitely artifacts that put your graveyard back into your deck, like Elixir of Immortality, Felden's Cane, Raito Lantern. That's just off the top of my head. There's a bunch of things that do that. Shifting Woodland can become a permanent in your graveyard. That's kind of like another workaround for Buried Ruin. Shifting Woodland copying an Endurance wouldn't cause the ETB trigger to happen, though, so you'd need another permanent that has an activated or triggered ability of some sort to start looping your deck. I mean, just that 1 second into Scryfall search found 2 options that could play into the artifact thing. There's definitely an artifact, Thran something or other, 1-mana artifact. Oh god, searching Thran might have been a mistake. Nope, found it immediately. 1-mana artifact, so it comes out of Saga. 1 tap, remove it from the game. Target player shuffles their graveyard into their library. The Thran Foundry can come out of Urza's Saga and can be picked up with Buried Ruin or copied with Shifting Woodland. Like, that is a 2-card package. Having Woodland in isn't a huge cost because it's a land, but having Thran Quarry in is kind of bad. But Thran Quarry can target your opponent, so it doubles as graveyard hate. Like, maybe it's just in the Nile Spellbomb spot. I don't know how important it is to solve for this Ripples of Undeath problem, because we did win both games where we were way ahead and just churning 3 cards a turn. But I really don't like the fact that my own deck is killing me in those Pox situations that you're playing to where your opponent can't do anything, and it's just a matter of time. This reduces your time. I think having some small package, even if it is just like a crazy amalgamation of Buried Ruin, picking up Thran Foundry or Elixir of Immortality to go again, because you will get there. You'll see your whole deck during this loop. I would explore that. That's my biggest takeaway from that. Vengeful Pharaoh was cool. It killed a few things. The one of Entomb put the Pharaoh into the graveyard in the Dreadnought matchup, so we did that once. Liliana, All-Star as usual. Smallpox was great. I felt good about the land count. Felt good about the Mox Diamonds and Dark Rituals, which balancing those is always a trap, or always tricky. I felt good about the one of bullets we had. I think the sideboard could be a little more nuanced. Like, we didn't play against any of the matchups that Damping Sphere and Vexing Bauble were actually for, but Damnation and Plague Engineer came in a lot. We also played against nothing for the ley lines. So it's basically 9 cards in the sideboard that were completely blank in this particular league. I brought in Bauble once. That's not even true. So like 8.5 cards, 8.2 cards, I guess, if it's relevant for one match. I would clean up the sideboard and I'd find a way to solve for if we're going infinite with Ripples of Undeath and just don't want to die to our own stuff. That's where I'm going to leave this. This was a lot of fun. I always love playing Pox. Headlich, thank you for sharing it with us. Everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon, and I'll see you next time.